Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the 57th part of What If Deku Was a Magical Girl Mascot. Quirk, Magical Girl Mascot. The author of this great fanfic is Emma Ively. Links to them and original story in the description. Chapter 57, Date Night. Izuku was in a really good mood. Why? Because while they have been a couple for a while, he and Achiko hadn't had their first date yet. Achiko was also in a good mood for the very same reasons. After all, their plans for a date at Island were a bust, then due to whole fiasco with the camp and Izuku's things were even more complicated. Thankfully they were able to talk to the teachers and even agreed to a plan for them to go out for a date. In fact, due to everything that happened, Toshinori decided to fund the date. After all, they were bonded and it was her nanais that kidnapped Izuku. And she even got them a reservation at really fancy restraint. It was a bit over the top, but hey, she was all might after all. That morning before training they talked to Toshinori. "I mean, it's so expensive, are you sure?" asked Achiko. "Of course I'm sure," said Toshinori. "It's your first official date. You should have some fun and don't worry about money, I got plenty of it." "You do have a point," said Izuku. "Do you have other plans?" asked Toshinori. "Well, after dinner I know of a shop that sells crepes not too far away. I even looked online and saw their hours," said Izuku. Toshinori nodded. "That sounds nice," said Toshinori. "Yeah," said Achiko. "You two have fun tonight." "Tell me how it went," said Toshinori, "because I'm going to meet with a member of Diet with Tiger today." Both of them figured out why, especially with Tiger. However, they still cringed because it really didn't sound like fun. "With me backing it, hopefully it will convince them," said Toshinori. "Maybe," said Achiko. Toshinori sighed, knowing she was not going to have a fun time. "Good luck," said Izuku. "Thanks," said Toshinori. After training, both of them got ready for their date, which involves picking out clothes. However, it wasn't an easy choice. So both of them got help. Izuku got help from Tenya, Shoto, and Katsuki. However, the last one was just confused. "Why? I don't know if you two can help him," sighed Katsuki. "And you can?" asked Shoto. "We have been to parties after all," said Tenya. "But this is still a date, not a fancy party," said Katsuki. "It's close enough considering the restaurant they're going to," said Shoto. Izuku sighed at the group helping him. "Are you sure you should wear the suit though?" asked Shoto. Izuku started to blush as he put on a rather nice suit. But Izuku knew what he meant. "Maybe he will be able to eat in his human form," said Ida. "It's some weird side effect of my quirk. If I eat a small meal in human form, then I'm left hungry," said Izuku. "I don't know why it is, but it happens. Also, he won't turn back into his other form until he eats," said Katsuki. "So there's that too." "Okay, that is a good point," said Shoto. Katsuki sighed and went over to Izuku and tied his tie for him. "Honestly," muttered Katsuki. "Thanks, Kaken," said Izuku. In Achiko's room, she was also getting for her date with the rest of the girls, giving advice as well as Aoyama, as well as helping her with hair and nails. Thankfully, Yaoyorozu decided to make Achiko a dress as a gift. "Thank you so much, Momo," cried Achiko. "Not a problem," said Yaoyorozu. "So it's just a fancy restaurant and a crepe place?" asked Ashido. "It is," said Achiko. "Oh, I would have suggested that you go to that park where they sell passes that people can fly around on romantic dates," said Toru. "That's more of a future date," said Achiko. "Oh, right, he still can't fly very well," said Toru. "You're also one of his partners, how do you not know that?" asked Tsuyu. "I guess I just forgot," said Toru. "Still, it sounds like it's going to fabulous date," said Aoyama as he did her hair. and I can't help to feel that was moi who played Cupid. Really, you got them together? Asked Ashido. It's true. I was the one who pointed out her feelings before she noticed. Said Aoyama. When did that happen? Asked Ashido. During our final exam together. Explained Achiko. Oh, that explains it. Said Suyu, being the only other partner in the room from that time. What do you mean? Asked Toru. She was in total denial of her feeling that night. So much so she didn't notice that Izuku turned on the telepathy, she just kept ranting about how she didn't like him that way. Said Suyu. Oh, that sounds so funny. Laughed Toru, who knew how the conversations went. Achiko just covered her face in embarrassment and she started to float. Hey, you might want to come down. Said Ashido. Achiko released herself and Aoyama finished up her hair. Perhaps I should help Bakugo with her love problems next. Said Aoyama. Yeah, she would kill you for meddling. Said Jiro. Quit while you're ahead. Said Ashido. Her denial is much worse than Achiko's that night. Said Suyu. You have a point. Realized Aoyama. Not too long later, Izuku was waiting in the common room. Both Kaminari and Mineta were glaring at him. They've been together since finals and you're glaring at him? Asked Katsuki. It just seems more real now they're going on a date. Said Kaminari. What does Midoriya have that I don't? Yelled Mineta. Do you really want a list or are you good? Asked Katsuki. Mineta just pouted. I mean, he already has so many girls. He muttered. He's my brother. Muttered Katsuki. I'm not into men. Said Shoto nearby. This transformation has not changed my sexuality. Said Tenya. Still. Pouted Mineta. Just ignore the ass. Said Katsuki. I know. Said Izuku with a sweat drop. That was when Achiko made her way down. I'm ready. Said Achiko. Izuku looked over at his date and blushed at the dress the Momo made her was a light pink that matched her necklace color, and she had light makeup and wore a black bow in her hair. You look really nice. Said Izuku, blushing with his tail wagging. You do too. Said Achiko, blushing in return. The two stood there for nearly a minute. You have a reservation, you know? Pointed out Katsuki. Also, did you discuss plans with the teacher? Asked Tenya. Why bring it up now? Asked Katsuki. Don't worry, Aizawa already knows. Said Izuku. Either one of us has to send a check-in text every half hour. Said Achiko, and also Izuku has to have his tracking app activated. They would question why Izuku only, but it was the fact that Achiko had a flip phone, so it made sense they wouldn't be able to track her so easily. And we have to contact him if something bad happens. Said Izuku, as in a villain attack or something like that, not if the date goes badly bad. All right. Have fun. And be safe. Said Tenya. The two left. And thankfully they had a feeling that the usual problems wouldn't happen this time. No, anything that went bad would be the date going badly bad, not villain attacks the date. And so they made their way to the restaurant. Which was a rather fancy restaurant. When they entered, the staff looked at them due to the fact that, well, they were teenagers. The other patrons turning their nose on them right away. We have a reservation for Midoriya. Said Izuku, remembering that Toshinori told them had he reserved under Izuku's name. The garçon looked at the name, scowling at the boy, then noticed that the reservation was made by All Might. Right this way. He said, realized that if he pretended that they didn't have a reservation it would look very bad. Both how them took their seat. And they were given the menus. So everything is already settled and we don't have to wait for the check. Said Izuku. Yes, your benefactor has said that whatever the bill is will be sent to him. Said the garçon. Izuku nodded, happy that he didn't have to worry about the check. They both looked at the menu with Achiko unsure what to get. I mean, everything is so expensive and I don't know what to get, said Achiko. Try something you don't know if you will ever be able to get for a very long time, said Izuku. But there's so much here, said Achiko, blushing. Izuku laughed. All Might did say he will pay for anything and not to worry, said Izuku. Achiko nodded. And soon they made their orders. They decided to tune out the other dinners there. Some of them were glaring at them, after all in their eyes how could two teenagers get their way to this restaurant? But many didn't mind them. Some of them recognizing Izuku as the kid who was kidnapped by the League of Villains. Some of that group were thinking about how he turned All Might to a woman. However, the rest of that group either didn't mind or were thinking, he's on a date here, good on him, after what he's been through, he deserves it. When they ordered, Izuku asked, is it also possible to make a small portion? I can't eat very much due to my quirk, so I need small portions. I'll see what I can try, said the waiter. You're going to have to stand, said Achiko, realizing. I know, sighed Izuku. I figured they wouldn't have any child booster seats here, but it wouldn't be the first time I had to stand in a restaurant. That stinks, said Achiko. I know, said Izuku. Thankfully the topic switched to lighter things. Like their training, or how they got help from their classmates getting ready for things. Then the food came. It was a somewhat smaller portion for Izuku. You can always take the leftovers, said Achiko. Izuku nodded. He pulled the plate at close to the edge as possible, and began to eat his dinner of pork chops, after transforming into his animal form. Achiko decided to splurge and get the lobster because come on, when was the next time she was going to get it? The two talked. However, several people started to complain to the waiters about them. Excuse me, said the waiter. What is it? Asked Izuku. Do you have to eat like that? Because it's making our other customers uncomfortable, said the waiter. Izuku seemed to shrink on himself. Achiko scowled. He has issues eating in his human form, said Achiko. You seriously think that way? Asked a snobby-looking woman. He probably lies about that so that people will treat him differently. They didn't notice a few people take out their phones when that woman said that. Look, unless you can prove that he has to eat that way, I'm going to ask you to leave, said the waiter. What? Asked Izuku. Oh, come on, yelled someone else in the restaurant. Lay off the kid. He's been through enough. He's been through enough, that brat. What does that even mean? Asked the snobby woman. I agree, lay off him, said another person. If his quirk makes it so that has to eat as a bunny, let him eat as a bunny, said one of the other patrons. Izuku did his best to not cry at that. Look, he is clearly naked, said another person, and he's probably getting hair everywhere. Several people agreed with that person. Izuku looked down. Many people were unaware of the filming or who Izuku was. However, the garçon noticed what was going on and freaking out. He knew that if word spread things would look bad and knew that All Might badmouth them. Fine, you want us to leave? We'll leave, said Achiko, slamming her napkin down. Achiko, said Izuku. You don't need to deal with this, said Achiko, walking over. Izuku nodded and turned to his human form. Wait. Don't leave, said the garçon. Sorry, but we're never coming back, said Achiko, and we are telling All Might what happened. The garçon was shaking, knowing that it was going to be huge hit the restaurant. Izuku looked at everyone and then followed his girlfriend, knowing that he couldn't let people walk over him like this. Honestly, like they have any sway over All Might, said the snobby woman. You know, said one of the people filming what happened and zoomed on that woman's face. that was the magical girl mascot kid from UA, you know, the one who All Might admits saved his life and career by turning him into a magical girl. Everything in the restaurant became quiet. Wait, that was... said the rather snobby woman, who realized that she just screwed up. She knew that her reputation would take a hit. They went to the crepe place and both got some ice cream crepes. "I'm sorry," said Izuku. "Don't apologize," sighed Achiko. "It's not your fault that people treated you that way." Izuku nodded. He ate his crepe that had some green tea ice cream. "This a good crepe though," said Achiko. "We should go there again at least," said Izuku. Achiko nodded. They were never going to return to the restaurant. However, a couple videos of what happened in the restaurant were already posted online. When they got back to dorms, they noticed the looks on their classmates' faces. "It's online, isn't it?" asked Izuku. "That restaurant is going down," muttered Katsuki. "I have already told my parents and other relatives, and we not going there again," said Yayorozu. "My family plans to boycott it," said Tenya. "You still need to grow a spine, Deku," said Katsuki. "I know," sighed Izuku. "Still, that bitch especially deserves whatever she got," said Katsuki. "Come on," said Achiko, dragging Izuku to her room. "If you go to your room for privacy, nothing too lewd," said Tenya. "We know," sighed Achiko. They decided to go to Achiko's room for it. "So," said Izuku. Achiko kissed Izuku at least. Izuku blushed at this but did kiss back. "So," said Izuku. "Let's just watch a movie," said Achiko. "Oh, okay," said Izuku. They watched a movie and enjoyed it. The next day they told Toshinori how things had gone at the restaurant. "I see," muttered Toshinori. "I'm sorry that you had to go through with that." It was clear she was going to say something publicly about the restaurant. "Especially with how my day went yesterday," muttered Toshinori. She insisted that her work on the law that she was working on, not abolishing the school uniform law. "Really? What's the law that she was working on?" asked Achiko. "Just some law about declaring some pastry getting its own holiday," said Toshinori. Both stared at Toshinori, confused. "Look, I get food holidays are fun, but focusing on that instead of a law that affects people is just..." sighed Toshinori. Toshinori was face-palming. "It's not the stupidest thing I've ever heard from a politician, but it's somewhat close," said Toshinori. "What's the worst thing?" asked Achiko. "Just some historical stuff that happened in the US back in the early 21st century," grumbled Toshinori. "You don't want to know about the January 6th insurrection, it's a really dumb moment in history." Both Izuku and Achiko sweat dropped. "Still, Mike Nelson was right," said Toshinori. "The government is the reason why nothing works." "Did she give any other reason?" asked Izuku. "Well, for myself and the others who bonded with you, she said we don't count," said Toshinori. "What? You mean to the uniform law?" asked Izuku. "No, it's because she looked in your Quirk and young Katsuki's history," said Toshinori. "Oh right, that," sighed Izuku. "The fact that his quirk seemed to prevent gender dysphoria. Katsuki never felt anything wrong with her body, and it applied to the other gender-bent members." Izuku sighed. "Still, I'm going to help Tiger to keep fighting, because even if we don't feel anything wrong with our bodies, there are plenty that do," said All Might. Izuku and Achiko nodded. Still, their first date was mostly a bust, but it wasn't horrifically villain getting involved bad, just bad date bad, and it was really only the restaurant where it went wrong. On the bright side, the crepe place good and they could always go there again. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 58. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.